welcome everyone to our SARE Education Series. Wednesday, we have 4 great institutions like Raul mentioned, and I can't wait to share all the scholarship opportunities that you guys may be missing out on because of budgeting reasons or because you just haven't looked at that particular institution just yet. So we will get started here shortly. Raul is going to start a presentation here for us. We are going to start with Mr. Kevin Smith, and then we will continue down our lineup. Raul is getting that started. So Mr. Kevin Smith is the Recruiting Operation Officer with the U.S. Army Cadet Command, 5th Brigade, the Maverick Battalion. Hello, Mr. How are you today?
Okay, great to be with you this afternoon. And just to give you a brief overview, I'm going to go through my slides fairly quickly and hopefully then leave time towards the end for our questions and answers. As Melissa said, I am the Recruiting Operations Officer for the Maverick Battalion. What that means is we have 8 four-year universities and 2 community college systems that we manage in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Actually, we have from Fort Worth to Denton out to Commerce, Texas is our area. So if you're attending one of those schools, you can participate in the ROTC program. And I'll get more detail about the ROTC program and what that entails here as we go through the presentation. I spent 33 years in the Army. I'm retired now, and now I work at the University of Texas at Arlington, where the headquarters is, as the Recruiting Operations Officer. Next slide. So ROTC is a college class. So the freshman and sophomore level, I tell people my mom could take the freshman and sophomore class. It's basically a leadership elective at that point. So what we teach is leadership, decision-making, problem-solving, written oral communications, time management. These are skill sets that are applicable to any course of action you decide to go on or any career field you decide to pursue. You can major in any degree you want to major in, anything from anthropology to zoology. It does not matter what you major in. The most important thing for us is that you're doing academically well. So again, freshman, sophomore level, no military commitment. Starting your junior year, then that's when you'll have to make a decision to make a commitment or to do something different. And we can talk more about those commitments as we get into the program later. But I always encourage people, it's like trying green beans. You don't know if you like it till you try it. Get in the freshman year, try it. You will be surrounded by a community of goal-minded individuals. Our students are amazing and very goal-oriented and very family-oriented. In other words, you're part of the family. They're going to help you succeed, not only in your academic or in ROTC, but in all your academics as well. So what are we looking for in an individual? Of course, in the Army, we have to use an acronym. So SAL-PD is my acronym. So we're looking for scholars, someone that's academically strong. And we measure that by your GPA, SAT scores, or SAT scores. And I mentioned SAT and ACT, and I always encourage people to take both because we're going to look at whichever one you did better in, SAT or ACT. And if your school does class rank, we'll look at that as well. But so the scholar is one of the key components. The athlete doesn't mean you're an Olympic athlete. It means most importantly, you're medically qualified and you're physically fit, because what we will do throughout the course of your education and training with us is to help you to develop yourself physically as well as mentally. So we will work out 4 days a week for an hour each morning to help you to get better, faster, stronger, and become the best you that you can become. For the leader part, before you become part of our program, we look at basically work experience, volunteer experience, clubs, organizations, particularly in a leadership role. So if you were on the chess team, great. Captain of the chess team, better. You worked at McDonald's, great. Shift manager at McDonald's, better. Those type of things. So if you played football, great. Captain of the football team, better. Those type of things. Any kind of leadership or volunteer work will help. And then once you're in the program, you'll be evaluated by your instructors all the time and given guidance on how to become a better leader and a better influencer and be able to better articulate your thoughts and ideas and to express those in a manner that your student understand that to accomplish a goal. that you have the potential to go on and be successful. It's not the military isn't any harder, or it's just different than some other career fields. And so we look at your potential in that career field. And then ultimately the desire. If you have the desire to serve, if you want to give back to your community and your nation, this is the right place for you to be. Okay, so in the classes are the traditional fall, spring lectures, but we reserve the summer for lots of different summer training that are optional training. There's only one training summer that is required, and that's between your junior and senior year. There's an ROTC advanced camp that we will send folks to that will help them go into their senior level, because the seniors basically run the program and are preparing to be officers. But the other summers, you can participate in the regular Army schools, airborne, air assault, mountain warfare. There's all kinds of, and basically our CTLT is basically, to put it in layman's term, is basically an internship with an active duty unit. So you can kind of go out and experience what do they do in a real Army unit on a day-to-day basis. We do the cultural language and understanding programs where we send you literally all over the world. We've sent students to Mongolia, all over Africa, Europe, South America, to participate in training with students of that nation, learning their culture, language, and learning about their military operations, etc. So lots of opportunities in the summer to participate and expand your horizon. Okay, so incentives that we offer. The Army is the largest proprietor of scholarships out there. I mean, there's millions. Just for our program, we have over $5 million in scholarships actively right now. So a high school student can go onto the website, you'll see there at goarmy.com, and apply between their junior and senior year for the Army scholarship. The Army scholarship pays 100% of your tuition, all your mandatory fees, $1,200 a year for books, and a monthly stipend of $420 a month. There's lots of other university-based. Now, we're hosted at UT Arlington, which is awesome because we've been here since 1902. They provide us with housing scholarships, endowment scholarships. So there's lots of civilian-based scholarships that the university provides, and then each state representative in Texas has a $10,000 per year scholarship called the Texas Armed Services Scholarship. A lot of our students will join the National Guard or Reserves, and we have a National Guard representative on campus that we work with directly to help us provide those scholarship options and opportunities. So there's lots of, and by joining the National Guard or Reserves, you can use their tuition assistance and state reimbursement to help pay for school. So every student that comes to me is at a different point A, and every student wants to get to a different point B. It's up to me and the rest of the faculty to help figure out the best way to get you from point A to point B, financially, academically, what campus you need to be at, what degree you need to be at, etc. Okay, I already briefly mentioned our civilian-based one, but I just want to highlight a few. Like I mentioned, at UT Arlington, which is our host program, and that's where all the faculty and staff are at. Those students that are attending, like Dallas Baptist, and that will drive over here to UT Arlington for the ROTC classes. But UTA provides housing scholarships and endowment scholarships. So lots and lots of opportunities. At Texas Women's, we have right now 8 housing scholarships. It'll be going up to 16 housing scholarships. At the University of Dallas, if you're on an Army scholarship, they provide full room and board. And the same at Dallas Baptist University. If you get an Army scholarship, they provide room and board. So there's lots of additional incentives at each campus. So depending on which campus you participate in, there'll be different benefits for that. So I mentioned briefly about the National Guard or Reserves, and that's simultaneous membership. There's short-term advantages and long-term advantages of this program. The short-term is the financial benefits. The long-term benefits is what we call time and service. The way we get paid in the military is not just what our rank is, but how long have we been in the military. And your time starts when you enlist in the Guard or Reserves. If you're just a cadet, and even if you're on scholarship, that you're not actually in the military yet until you graduate and commission. So your time does not start until you graduate. What that equates to is if you did 4 years of college and 4 years of being in the National Guard, on day one on active duty, you're making about $600 or $700 a month more than the student next to you that graduated the same day, because you have 4 years time in service, which puts you higher on the pay scale. Then, of course, like I said, that there's lots of different career fields that you can go into. If you can think of a career field in the civilian world, it exists in the military. And this is going to be really complicated, and I'll get into the details of the actual dollar amounts that are available to each individual. If this slide presentation, I can send it out to individuals in the chat later. Myself or Melissa will put my contact information on our website information. And of course, all this information I'll provide for you as we go into more detail of what option is best for you. Like I said, everybody is at a different point A and everybody goes to a different point B. And like I said, if you want to look at how much we get paid in the military, it's open to the public, pretty easy to so I appreciate your time. I think I'm going to turn it back over to Melissa, and I'll put in the chat my contact information. And I appreciate your time and looking forward to your questions.
Now we are moving on, and our next presenter is Dr. Noe Lozano. He's the Associate Dean of Student Affairs and Director of Engineering Diversity Programs at Stanford University. Hello, Dr. Lozano.
Hello, Melissa.
Welcome. I see that we're all ready, so I'll let you get started.
Thank you very much. I've been Director of Graduate Admissions and all graduate programs and undergraduates and Director of Recruitment. So I wanted to say that so that you know where I'm coming from when I give you a sense of where Stanford is. The big idea for Stanford University is financial aid. It's based on financial need. 2 sources, we're talking about scholarships, but the other source of a lot of grants and a lot of money, probably more money than scholarships, is the federal government. So then I wanted to make sure you looked at all the varieties and focused in on applying. So you want to know technical stuff, you need to apply for scholarships and you need to apply for grants. The way you do that at a place like Stanford is actually 2 national platforms. One is called the College Scholarship Service Profile by the College Board, and the other one's called FAFSA. That's free application for student aid. So, don't do this without getting help from a counselor, a set advisor, a college friend, or your parents if they went to college, or a university admissions recruitment persons. It involves your parents' income and other things like that. So definitely get a lot of help. But don't just stick to for example, on the CSS profile, there's 400 universities besides Stanford that's part of that program. And for the FAFSA, it's almost all universities that want any kind of financial aid. So do the federal government funding, apply to that, apply to state government. There's a lot of local funds that you can apply for just in your back door, either city, funding. You can also do foundations. In some cases, they pay for everything. One, for example, would be like the Gates Foundation. If you get that award, not only does it pay for all tuition and all your financial need, all your housing and books, it will also pay for you to go all the way to a PhD program. So it pays a bachelor's, master's, and PhD. So look into foundation money and look into companies and, of course, colleges and universities. Stanford, there's $192 million available for scholarships. I won't give you the names of the scholarships at Stanford because we have 1,500 scholarships. That's how much, and those are endowed money. That money is not going away. Endowed means we're only using the money we make by investing it. So there's a lot of support from Stanford. In fact, at Stanford, we don't even look at whether you can afford to come to Stanford. We have blind need admissions. What we care about is that you're competitive to be at Stanford University, whether you can pay or not. that does not matter to us. We want to bring in the best, regardless of ability to pay. I say that because Stanford's a private university, and right away people think that they have to have their own money, and they don't want to show that they have financial need or that they're low income. That is not the case. So definitely apply to our Stanford Scholarship Fund. Half of all Stanford students, undergraduates, are based have need-based financial aid. 70% receive some kind of aid. So you can see right there that 20% of the students, they're bringing in their own money, usually because they don't qualify for financial aid based on need. So they go out and hustle and just get it based on merit. So you should do both. I recommend you do both. So the average financial aid award for students is $52,000 per year, every single year. If you've qualified once and nothing changes, or there's only a little bit of noise, then you'll qualify every single year. An average Stanford financial aid award, if you're a low-income student, is $73,425 every single year. So it pays for full tuition. Tuition at Stanford per year is $55,473. For your room and board, 3 meals a day, and a room, usually a roommate, $17,256 of that $73,000 goes towards that. And I already gave you the tuition amount. And then we have you do Stanford Health. We have our own hospital and our own medical clinics on campus, and you pay $696 for that. There's a formula made before I go to the next slide. It'll probably show up there too that you should think of that's very important, and that's federal college work study. And I'll tell you why that's important. So for Stanford, and I just got a note from the financial aid office, so the numbers are even better than this. If your parents make equal to or less than $100,000, not $65,000, your parents contribute zero money at all. And that means that if your parents make less than $100,000, you're going to get from Stanford financial aid office $55,473 in tuition to pay for $20,456 room and board, and you'll get the $696 of health insurance. The only thing you have to pay for is probably, we don't want to give you a complete free ride because we want you to have skin in the game. We want you to own your part of your education. But we also know that if you're low income, that if your parents are making less than $100,000, that we can't have you pay too much. So we usually have you pay about $5,000 a year that you can get waived if you don't have a summer internship job or a job during your academic studies. Another example would be, what about the middle class? If your parents make less than $150,000, then what's going to happen here is that you'll get probably free tuition, which is the biggest cost. So you'll get at least $55,473. Plus, you'll get some room and board and some health insurance. Technically, you'll be paying about $14,000. Your parents would be. So you're still getting a large amount of your room and board paid for in your health insurance. As I mentioned earlier, we'd like you to have a little skin in the game, so we usually have you pay about $5,000 of this a year. The rest of the $73,000 we pay. So again, if you're applying for Stanford, all of it is based on need. Can you show us that you need the money? What does that mean? Okay, it means that we're counting your parents' income, what their assets are, your family size. The bigger the size, then your parents can make a little bit more money. Family indebtedness, how much they owe, family members in college. So if somebody else is going to college, that's in your favor. I think the biggest takeaway you should have from this is that Stanford does not count your parents, if they own the house or if they have a mortgage on it, they don't count that as part of an asset. And for most American families, their biggest asset is their home. So we take that off the table. So basically, what I'm saying is that Stanford will fund everybody that has need every single year. So the biggest challenge for you is to get admitted to Stanford, not to worry about financial aid. We basically take that away as part of the concern about you attending Stanford University. So look for the free money. So the free money are scholarships, grants. The grants is you get by applying to federal financial aid. So, and sometimes you can get more grant money than you can get grant scholarships. Grant is free money. You don't pay it back. It means that your parents are low income or you're low income, and then you qualify for federal funding. Borrowed money is loans. Hopefully you don't have to do any of that. But if you do, then I recommend you take the loans out, because usually they're deferred interest, so they don't charge you interest while the 4 years you're there. So those of you that study a little bit of business or economics, then you know that every year there's a cost of living increase. So if you're in borrowed money, 4 years later, when you start paying for it, it's like you're paying like 85 cents on the dollar. So go ahead and take it, and especially you're investing money in yourself. So if you qualify for loans and you need them, take them out. This is the time to do it. If you get federal work study, a lot of people turn that into loans or they reject it. That I advise you not to do. Federal work study means that the federal government is going to pay for you to work for somebody. That means if you're smart and clever, you can go to work, go talk to a professor and say, I have federal work study. Can I be your research assistant? Then you're going to learn cutting edge technology or information in any major, but it's especially important in the technical majors. But I would say it's important for any major. So then it's like a calling card for you. That means you're going to get trained. The other benefit of the federal work study, that means that you will have a letter of recommendation when you start looking for a job, or a built-in letter of recommendation when you apply to graduate school. So, look and actually seek out the federal financial aid is what I would say. I hire a lot of federal financial aid students, and they get trained to do website stuff and to do even some peer advising and all kinds of other things that are very important. So it's a valuable way of getting funded. And I count it as free money. You don't have to pay it back. So know the difference between merit-based scholarships and then just federal financial aid based on need. So we're going to fund everyone. And Stanford treats undocumented students as domestic students and funds them with Stanford institutional funds. We care about how you're going to improve the greater good, how you're going to meet national and international challenges because you're bright. And we want to educate you to do those things. So we will fund you, even if you're an undocumented student. Important dates. So I'm giving to you here, but I want you to go look them up. Don't miss the deadlines. If you miss the deadlines, we'll still consider you for financial aid, but that means that we probably have given out a lot of money and you're on second or third or fourth. So you get the leftovers. So you don't want to get the leftovers. Follow those deadlines judiciously. So again, for the free application for federal student aid and for the college scholarship service, generally start looking now. They announce them and the deadline, so they're available. You can actually go right now and start applying. And then the deadline's about February 15th. So again, look at CSS college. I don't think they call it, they don't use the college scholarship service because it's so long. You'll just see CSS profile through the college board. Now, the thing that, how you tell somebody which colleges you're applying to is you have to enter the codes. So if you're applying to Stanford financial aid, there's the code 4704. that allows us to use the CSS financial analysis for our benefit. But it also accesses, as soon as you put that code in and apply, you're now eligible for the 1,500 Stanford scholarships, the $192 million. For the free application for federal student aid, there's the Stanford code. Once you apply, then you're eligible for all the grant money. So grants are like scholarships. So if you're low income and I gave you that base, then you'll access that money purely by applying for the FAFSA. And automatically, our financial aid does the paperwork, and then you automatically get pegged for that federal grant and for the federal work study. And should you need loans, then we will also process you for that. So those are the two very important documents that you need to know. You'll get a follow-up, and that's why I put that, the IDOC, Institutional Documentation Service. So that's where you come in, and this is why I say you need a counselor or a friend, somebody at SED, to help you walk through it, or a former student, because they're going to ask for your parents' federal tax returns. They're going to ask for W-2 forms, the earnings statement, and those kinds of things. So then you can take care of all of that so that you get processed. So you need to apply, get it done, and here are some of the sources. Those are the first. You can see the two links, and I think Melissa will be sending it to you on the chat, or if you ask for it. If you need to contact me, my email is really easy. It's just Noe, N-O-E, @stanford.edu. If you want to learn a little bit more about not only scholarships, but the whole financial aid process, there's 3 links there. Financial aid, student aid, government, the literacy for financial aid, and estimating. You can actually figure out how much you're going to get by going to the estimation in the FAFSA, and it'll give you a sense of what your award's going to be. I think the questions, so there's a lot of money available. Apply everywhere you can. Don't just apply to those 2 sources or just to the university. There is a lot of sources. Don't leave. I've even had students who don't qualify for any. I had one student, and his plan was every week he would apply for new scholarships. Everybody made fun of him, but he bought out all his parents' contributions, all of his contribution. He was up to that $75,000 by that simple. He'd get $1,000 here, $5,000 here, maybe 10, and it all, by the time he started Stanford, he was there, and he qualified for 0 financial aid. So if you happen to be in that lucky category, very few people are in that category, but if you are, you can have a plan. I leave it with that.
Hi, Melissa. Thank you so much. And thank you, Raul, as well. And so much appreciation to SED for putting on this wonderful program. I'm so glad that your audience chose to be here today. Noe did an excellent job, not only of covering the great university Stanford is, but the reality that there are dollars available, and that we are here today to encourage you, to keep you committed to pursuing your college education. And the reality is there's a lot of money available, and many of the attributes that Noe described are very true for many universities and colleges across the university. And so what you heard Noe talk about in terms of FAFSA, in terms of loans, in terms of work study, remember that will apply to other universities and colleges as well. And so thank you so much for taking that time, Noe, to give those details, not only about Stanford, but about how these students can find a way to pay for college no matter where they're going. I'd like to share with you now a little bit about the heart of all of these universities that you are thinking about going to. And Melissa, if you'll show the next slide, it's a time of right now that we aren't able to give hugs to our student, but I have no doubt that Noe probably in a normal year would give a hug to a student, right? And we really want to welcome you. We welcome your families, and I hope there are many parents on the call today that are very inspired by what they're learning. And here's one of our students that is just so excited. She's a freshman now. She lives in our residence hall, even though COVID is with us. She just had a skateboarding tumble, scuffed her knee up a little bit, but she's making A's and doing well. And the next slide I wanted to share, because particularly for this audience, I want you to know that at the University of Texas at Arlington, we're immensely committed to our student success after graduation. So though we're talking mainly about money to pay for college, and the truth is you're also thinking about a job or graduate school or medical school or professional school afterward. And Yalitza Chavez is a student that works in my office. And I show you these photos because the real life opportunities that we give our students to present, in this case, in front of an entire fifth grade elementary school, to talk to them about staying committed to school, staying in. This is part of what we call the Maverick Advantage. And it's one of as they go through college. It helps them get experiences with internships, research that often lead to additional dollars while you're in school. So whereas Noe and I mainly we're talking about the money at the beginning, it's also very true that as you go along, you have access to additional scholarships and dollars. And so the next slide, Melissa, shows some of the special attributes of our university. And you may not know us very well, in fact, but we're right in the middle of one of America's most dynamic metropolitan areas, Dallas-Fort Worth. We're smack in the center of those two. Huge job growth, huge opportunity for work and programs. And our being a Hispanic serving university means that we understand diversity. We're one of the top most diverse universities in America. We're also very uncommonly a Research One university. So it's not common to find the diversity and the Research One tied together. In fact, our freshman class has the most Hispanic students ever. 37% of that class is Hispanic. And we're proud to have more than 13,000 Hispanic students enrolled at our university. We also are committed to veterans. It's great to see Kevin Smith here from our ROTC program. We're ranked #1 for service in the entire country to our veterans. And in fact, on the next slide, this leads me into some of the scholarships that we have. And a reason that we have this enrollment at this world-class university is because the following slide, Melissa, shows our scholarship program. And we have one of the best scholarship programs of a public university in America. It starts, of course, with the highest performing students and the ones that are National Merit Scholars, but all the way through transfer students. We have more than $20 million that we commit to new students that come to the university. And these scholarships are Texas, there's Texas Aid as well. Students that might be considering Texas from out of state, I want to encourage you as well, because we have out of state tuition waivers that we offer. So if you're a talented student, probably if you're in the top quarter of your class, you're very, very likely to receive one of these waivers. And then you get to pay in-state tuition, which in Texas is very low compared to many states in the nation. And so this gives you a picture of some of the commitments that we've got. And not only are the general university scholarship programs great, but on the next page, you get to see that we have many other scholarships. And much like Noe mentioned, the millions of dollars that donors have donated for particular students and majors, or maybe even we have a donor that cares very much about a particular part of Texas. And she and her husband have donated money to support students from these particular high schools. And so we have something called MAV Scholarship, where we let students access another $6 million in annual scholarships for undergraduates. And that's what this shows you as well. And then finally, on the next slide, you see that our president has made a great commitment to add even more. You know, these are tough times for America. We're in the midst of economic crisis. We're in the midst of a health crisis. We're also in the midst of a social crisis. And we are committed to doing our part at our university. And so we've committed an additional $25 million that you on this call will have the first round of access to, because it starts by being awarded next fall. So we're really proud of being committed to our communities, our students, especially students that have done well, but may need a little bit of financial help. I do also want to mention that when it comes to test scores, some of you may not have those right now. Even juniors planning, it's really murky waters right now, isn't it? And we know that. And so we've engineered our scholarship program this year. And so long as you have one of these four, a high test score, a high class rank, a high GPA, or you have a suite of advanced academic courses that you took in high school, you will be in consideration for scholarships. And so we've modified this year so that rather than only having very selected pathways into our scholarships, we've opened it wide so that an individual student circumstance can get them access to these dollars. So in closing, on the next slide, I show you a couple examples of our great commitment to the Hispanic heritage. We've celebrated Hispanic Heritage Month. We sponsored, as the only university in the city of Dallas's first Dia de los Muertos parade. We have received the Excelencia Exemplar Award, and we also have an individual who's received a medallion from the Congressional Caucus. We're a university, showing the next slide, that is going to be rebounding to some exciting times too. If you'll go on to that one. And then finally, Melissa, we're here not to recruit students or encourage enrollment. We want you to graduate. And that's what we're headed for. And that's what this program today is about. Melissa and Raul, thank you so much for letting me share some of the excitement and promise we've got at UTA.
I love the pictures. I know that this is such an exciting news, actually, for all our audience. So thank you for sharing the that you guys have on your scholarship. So here we are moving on to our next presenter, and we have Ms. Debbie Murray, and she is Space Grant Consortium Manager, Internships and Research Experiences.
Okay, hello everyone, and thank you for having me be a part of this. All right, thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation to participate in this panel this afternoon. I'm excited to be here. And my presentation is going to be a tad bit different. The other representatives were affiliated with universities. And as Melissa said, I am with the Virginia Space Grant Consortium. And I will, okay, next slide. I'm trying to do it myself. I have to learn to let somebody else do it for me. Okay, so we are a NASA entity, and NASA funds a space grant for all 50 states plus DC and Puerto Rico. So what I'm going to do is just kind of give you a little snapshot of which of the types of programs that each space grant could have. And I know that SARA is a national program, so what I want you to focus on is the fact, okay, if you're located in Texas or if you're located in North Dakota or wherever, there is a space grant there. So you're going to want to look into that space grant because we are all about student opportunities. This is an example of our consortium members, and we have 5 of the major universities located in Virginia, as well as 2 NASA centers. We have the Virginia Community College System, which means that every community college in the state of Virginia and their satellite campuses are considered members. So having said that, that just means is that if they're a member of our consortium, then they can benefit from scholarships, fellowships, etc. Their students can. However, we have partners with over 600 organizations, so we will work with any accredited school across the state of Virginia, and sometimes we work in partnership with other other space grants as well, because like I said, we do share the same type of mission. Okay, so I was limited to the number of slides I could have. So what I did was I provided the title of each scholarship and fellowship that we have. And there is our website for VSGC. I'm going to be sharing it in the chat at the end of my presentation. And you can go to our website and look at each one in more detail because they each have similar criteria. These are all focused, they're opportunities for scholarships or fellowships focusing on, let's say, STEM projects that are in support of the NASA mission. I have another slide that have some examples of those majors. And you can see that they range in a variety of amounts. So the undergraduate research scholarship that we have is an academic year and summer scholarship up to $8,500. Our graduate research fellowship is a $6,000 fellowship. And where it says 1K must be used for travel and supplies. Anyone that receives a scholarship or fellowship from the Virginia Space Grant Consortium has to attend and present at our annual student conference that we have every year. And one of our 5 major university institutions that were listed in our in the consortium membership list I shared, they take turns hosting those conferences. And so they're very, very informal. It gives the students an opportunity to share the type of NASA-related mission support projects that they were able to do at their university, in conjunction with having an academic advisor and a NASA. We don't really call them mentors, but basically a NASA resource that can help guide their research as well. We also have an undergraduate STEM research scholarship up to $8,500, and that's self-explanatory. It's an undergraduate that's specifically pursuing a STEM major. Same thing for the graduate STEM research fellowship, up to $6,000. And then we have an undergraduate STEM bridge scholarship, and that is based on merit. It's $1,000. And with some of our universities, we have a course that is basically, it's more than an orientation, but it basically helps to provide resources for the students that are freshmen that are coming into a STEM major that maybe they have a little bit of difficulty, or they're not confident in what they're doing. So this course provides them with resources, academic resources, professors, other students, organizations, just whatever type of resource they need to help them through that first year, to hopefully encourage them to stay in the STEM major and not just get scared and upset in the first semester or two and want to quit. And so those are the actual scholarships and fellowships affiliated with our Virginia Space Grant Consortium. All of the 50 consortia plus DC and Puerto Rico have similar opportunities. So regardless of the state that you're in, like I said, check with your space grant and see what opportunities they have. And they generally have a home base at a university or college. So you can check that out too. You may be attending the college that the consortium is housed at. So, and that, I won't say that gives you a better opportunity beyond anybody else, but if you're right there and you can make those connections, it's all about networking too. But definitely, as the other presenters indicated, take every opportunity you can to pursue scholarships, because the worst thing that could happen is you get more than what you need. But if you don't try, then you won't get it, of course. Okay, so I was talking about the NASA projects. They're interdisciplinary projects. And again, the research has to be of interest to NASA. The applications or proposals, and you need to, when you go to the website, you're going to need to look at each one, because some of them may require an application, some of them may require an actual proposal, and it'll give you the details and the instructions on how to do that and how to present it and what pieces you need to bring to the table to make that happen. These are some of the majors that we've supported. This is not an exclusive list. These are some of the major ones that we've supported. And, if you can plead your case for a major that supports the NASA mission, then that's not to say that if you're pursuing a different one that you would not get it as well. This again is the website, and you're going to see that a couple of times throughout, and then at the end in the chat. So just, as you have time, just be sure to jot that down. Okay, so many of you probably already heard about the NASA internships. This is for all NASA centers. For years and years, I managed the one that was at NASA Langley, and you may have heard of it. It was Lars. That's actually how I met my colleague, Rafaela Schwan, which I think many of you know her. We worked together on NASA programs, and that program was kind of the basis for a lot of other opportunities at NASA. And so what they did was they basically pulled all of the internships under one umbrella for NASA, instead of having this one at that center and that one at the other. So now it's called NASA Internships. The website is intern.nasa.gov. For that particular program, students receive, for a 10-week full-time internship, $7,300 stipend. So you have to cover your costs while you're there with housing and food and stuff, but the hope is that you will have enough left to put towards some books or some of your tuition or something like that at the end of the summer. And the Space Grant Consortia typically are always invited to, and many of them do support these interns for the NASA internship program from within schools within their state. So again, it's worthwhile to touch base with your Space Grant Consortium. And I know I sound like a broken record, but I just can't emphasize that enough. It's important, because you never know what kind of opportunities you're going to have with them until you check it out. You can see we have all kinds of, there's a CubeSat project that some of the students worked on, where their projects went up on a rocket. We have people working on virtual reality projects. Just pretty much almost anything you can think of, you can find it at NASA. It's always exciting. And I've been affiliated with NASA for over 30 years, and I'm still awed by it, still like a little kid when I go to different things. So that's cool. So the next program is our CSIP program. Now, this is a Virginia program, but again, I'm sharing this with you as an example of the type of programs that you might see at some of the other space grant consortia. But also, if any of you are located in Virginia, please reach out to me, because programs are for Virginia students or Virginia businesses. So with CSIP, it's the Commonwealth STEM Industry Internship Program. Just very quickly, we connect employers to students by having them register with us. We connect the students to the employers by inviting Virginia students or Virginia residents that attend schools outside the state to apply. Then the whole thing is training those students to be our next generation of workers, and then keeping that skill set here in Virginia. It is a Virginia state funded program supported by the governor's office. Companies can register and have access to the students. There's no service, there's no deadline. It's all STEM focused. We have opportunities within the cyber arena for subsidies. We've placed more than 645 placements to date. We have over 240 companies registered, and we have over 23 partners that have business membership. Okay, and then the last program, this is a STEM Tech Flight program just for community colleges. This is a NASA Research Experience program that we put together just with our Virginia Community College system. The students get to participate 10 weeks during the summer. It's a paid paid research experience. We don't fall under NIFs, so they're student researchers, research advisors, and research experience, as opposed to mentors, interns, and internships. You can see that they get stipend. The dates are pretty much the same dates as the NASA internships. We've placed 151 students so far. So again, if you are in Virginia, this is awesome for you, but again, it could be another possibility with the other space grant, something similar to this. Next slide. That's our contact information. Again, I'm going to have that in the chat. I'm going to hit that now. And I'm happy to answer any questions when we finish. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Thank you to everyone that has participated today and given all our students and our families all this information. We do have some questions that have, as we're presenting. And our first one is for Dr. Johnson and Dr. Lozano. And Evelyn is asking, first time I hear about CSS profile. Can anyone apply for this? Is there a cost? Will these scholarships apply for any major? Dr. Johnson.
That is a great question. And because at UT Arlington, we don't require and use CSS profile, which many universities do, many don't. I want to commend this question to Noe, because he can describe precisely how it flows in his discussion, if that's all right. If he's still there. Is he available?
Yes, I'm still here.
Oh, okay, great. Would you mind?
No, I'll be glad. You apply, and if you're low income, they actually have fee waiver. Fee waiver just means you do not have to pay. So if you are in need, the chances that it gets you get a free application is very, very high. But again, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So, paying a little bit for an application fee to access, thousands of dollars, you shouldn't hesitate. But most likely you won't have to pay. But yes, they do charge. I'm not sure why they're charging since the federal government's application doesn't, but they probably use it to fund their staff. But they do give you access to 400 universities. Like Dr. Johnson says, not every university uses it, but 400 of them do. So you'll have to check, but you'll find out whether the ones you're applying to are part of it or not. I just know that for Stanford it is, and the chances you get it waived are high.
Thank you, Dr. Lozano. We have a question for Ms. What about students that are in ROTC in high school? How do they make that transition to ROTC in college? Is there anything that they need to do that?
So there's not a direct correlation between junior ROTC in high school and senior ROTC in college, except for the military or leadership experience that the individual would garner from doing junior ROTC. But the junior ROTC student will join senior ROTC as the same as any other student. The advantage that they will bring is they already understand some of the military concepts and leadership skill sets, and that will help their transition a little bit, but not a direct path. Does that help answer your question a little bit?
I am waiting to see if they follow up. If not, then that has answered their question. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Now, Debbie, we have a are there any courses high school students should be taking that will give them an advantage for some of these intern or scholarships?
I would recommend just the STEM courses that they have access to, because of course, most everything that we do with our programs are STEM focused. However, keeping in mind that when you apply to the NASA Center, for instance, for an internship, each NASA Center is like its own little city. So whatever it takes to run a city, it's going to take the same to run a NASA Research Center or a NASA Center. So that could be different business areas. It could be some of the humanities areas, some of the as opposed to some of the life science majors as well. So, and also if you are interested in pursuing anything like engineering or cybersecurity, whether it's in your curriculum or not, and you can start this while you're in high school, start getting some certifications, especially if you have an interest in, for instance, cybersecurity, because although the 2-year and 4-year degrees are important, some companies are looking for individuals that have specific certifications in cyber to work on specific projects, and they are looking for those sometimes before they finish their 2 or 4-year degree. So that's what I would offer as advice. And anytime you get the opportunity to do an internship or to shadow someone, do it. Always network. Yes.
Debbie, now this question is back.
Alyssa.
Yes.
I just wanted to say, on a very specific way, if you're STEM, then you should be taking all the math as far up and hopefully to calculus, and hopefully BC. There's ABC calculus and BC calculus. If you can get all the way to BC, you're better off. The more math you have, the easier physics becomes. So then you should also be taking the chemistry, biology, and physics. But if you're definitely engineering, you need at least the calculus and the physics. That's good if you have the bio and chem, but we would prefer those two. So that gets you in line for those internships and for the STEM majors. So you can't get there without those two tracks.
Thank you, Dr. Lozano, for following up on that question. Now, this next question is for you and Dr. Johnson, because we do have some adults that have gone to college and may want to return for another undergraduate or graduates. How does the scholarship process apply to them? Is there the same availability to them for ongoing education?
Yeah, that's really a great question. I'll give a quick answer, then hand it over. I would say generally you will find across the country there are less scholarship dollars once you finish your bachelor's degree. I just want to be honest with you. That's normally how things work, but that doesn't mean there are none. And it also doesn't mean there aren't some very low interest loans available too. The federal loans are still available for graduate students. And the best part is those loan values increase as you're a graduate student. And so if your program's a little more expensive, you can access those funds at low interest rates. And the other part is in research universities like ours and Stanford, there are many graduate students who actually work for the university, right? And so you may not think of it as a scholarship, but we call them assistantships, teaching assistantships and the like. Some of you may have, of course, Melissa, you're smiling. You probably had a TA or a GA when you were doing your undergraduate studies. And so you can access some resources that way. And then occasionally, though, there are also scholarships that people have given funds for particular majors at the graduate level. And once upon a time, I remember a program that actually was set up for zero interest loans for graduate students at a particular graduate school. So like we've said all along, pursue it, check it out, ask. When you're applying, check with the graduate advisors, check with the financial aid offices. They'll be able to connect you up with what is available.
So, Melissa,
Dr.
there is
Johnson?
a lot of outside money that you have to apply for, federal money, and I'm just thinking of the GEM consortium for diversity students. That will pay for a master's degree and get you connected with a company. So applying for GEM would be one way to fund it. But there are other national funding agencies that fund masters and students and PhD students. You have to do your search, just like we're asking undergraduates. Stanford has its own money as a private university. If you're going to get a PhD at any major university, all PhD programs are funded, completely funded. Everything will be paid for. If you want a master's because it's more a benefit to you than the greater good in society, I'm with Dr. Johnson. Then we sort of expect you to fund it. But having said that, the master's students at Stanford do not pay for their master's degree. It's paid for them. Some of them do it because they work through that we have a program. The only part-time program we allow at Stanford is where a person works full-time and takes 1 or 2 courses at Stanford. The company pays all of that. So if you have a company that's connected to Stanford, you can have them pay. And because some of the programs like electrical engineering and computer science are online, you can actually be anywhere in the country and have the company pay for it. So there's those programs where the company just flat out pays for it. And then, of course, we have our own scholarships. But I think the biggest source of money are research assistantships, as Dr. Johnson was saying, and teaching assistantship. What does that mean? If you work 20 hours a week, everything is paid for. You get a salary that's basically funds you at about $2,000 a month or more, and it pays all your tuition. So that's the benefit, is that if you get one of those and it's 50% time, all your tuition is paid for, and then all you worry about is the room and board, and you're getting a salary from that. So yeah, and the benefit is bigger though, because if you're a teaching assistant or research assistantship, you're getting smarter. When you have to TA Stanford students, they're going to hit you up with a lot of tough questions. So you're learning. That's the benefit. Sometimes I preferred advising students to be a TA or be a research assistant than them using their fellowship money, because they would have access to a research team and cutting edge technology or information. And you can't pay enough for that. That's the benefit. And you have direct access to the faculty. And having direct access to the faculty, that is the best thing for anybody. So I leave it at that.
Thank you. That Raul has joined us again. Hi, Raul. Before I switch it over to Raul, I just want to thank everyone. I'm very excited to share this information with my nephews and my community. I know Raul feels the same way. So thank you from me, Raul.
Yes, thank you, Melissa, and thank you, Debbie, Dr. Johnson, Kevin, and Dr. Lozano. Thank you for your time. Great information. I know that our audience took a lot of notes, and we will have the PowerPoint available to them, and of course, have the different links to the different websites for them available. And if anyone reach out to us, we will get your contact information to them so they can answer you can answer any questions they might have.